Everybody, I'm going to call the Thursday, February 5th work session of Borough Council to order. Mr. Mayor, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Okay. All right, here we go. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Manager, will you call the roll?
Yes, President Bush.
Here.
Vice President Rivers.
Here.
Councilmember Simonson.
Here.
Councilmember Borough.
Here.
Councilmember Spear.
Here.
Councilmember Badini.
Here.
Councilmember Stratton.
Here.
And Mayor Dana Edwards.
Here.
All right. So our major item on the agenda today is the resolution limiting cooperation with ICE. This was brought up at a meeting yesterday at the Police Advisory Council, and the feedback we got from that meeting was, well, what should we do? You know, here's what the borough is doing, what should we do? I mean, that's really the question we were asking ourselves as a borough. This is why this resolution is on the table. I think we were all shocked. I think anybody with a conscience was shocked at the actions and the images that came out of Minneapolis. So what can we do as a borough? This resolution came out of that. Just making it clear that our police department operates to protect our residents and to protect the public safety here, and does not have a role in immigration enforcement. But the question still stands for residents. What can you do? What should you do? And I think part of that's up to your individual conscience and what you feel you are able to do. It's very clear that any kind of action around ICE is dangerous, at least to some extent. They are not respecting the constitutional rights of protesters, and it is just you'll be putting yourself in a dangerous situation by being around ICE. They are poorly trained, and they've killed people. So proceed with caution would be my first piece of advice. It's very clear that they are in the area, they're active, they've arrested people in Lower Marion Township, they were active in Phoenixville yesterday, I think. So they're here in the area. The mayor and Cindy and I, we've talked it over, we've spoken to our police chief and to our solicitor, trying to come up with what we think is helpful advice for the community to try to make sure everybody here remains safe. We suggest calling 911 if you see ICE outside of their vehicles. It's clearly a dangerous situation at that point, given what's been happening. So feel free to call 911. That call will go to our local police. So we share responsibility with the Narberth Police Department, the Lower Marion Police Department. Our police drive in police cars. They clearly marked. They wear uniforms. Have badges. They don't wear masks, so you'll be able to tell our police from ICE. And our police are here to make sure the community remains safe. So I definitely encourage you to call 911. The police will ensure that the situation is as safe as possible for our residents. We also suggest that if you're able to, stand at a safe distance from ICE and record with your cell phone cameras. That's probably the single most effective action you can take. It really allows us to, push back on administration lies on what's going on with ICE, and documentation is really the only way we can make sure that ICE is held accountable for what it does. So that's our best advice right now, is to call 911, stay at a safe distance, and record, and obey instructions that are given to you by ICE, as well as by our local police. ICE is allowed to stop people. They have been given permission by the Supreme Court to target people based on their skin color. They are allowed to interrogate people on the street. That is within their rights, it is within our rights to record it all and to ensure that they are not endangering the community. So that is my advice to the community. And if you, what's that?
And maybe to communicate that, if there is a verified presence of ICE in the community, that we would share that, to be very cautious of social media and.
Sure. So we will do our best to alert community members if there's a dangerous situation in the borough of any kind. And I think ICE showing up on the streets at this point qualifies as a dangerous situation. So we will alert people. There are a lot of rumors and discussions flying around on the internet. Be careful about what you do there. I also don't recommend like chasing ICE in cars. This is something that's going on in Minneapolis. I think it's likely to lead to car crashes and danger. I would advise against anything more direct than standing at a safe distance and recording, which is completely within your constitutional rights, of course. All right, I'm going to stop there. But we put out a statement. It's on the borough website that includes a lot of this advice, and there's a lot of other resources online if you'd like to look at the ACLU. They have good advice for protesting more actively and actions you can take. I'd also encourage you to call your U.S. senators on this issue. I think that our representative is very much aware of the issues and has vowed not to fund ICE until reforms are made. But I think that our U.S. senators are both worthy of attention on this matter, and please reach out to them. Okay, let's move on to our business. Well, first of all, Dana. Do you have comments? Don't let me monopolize it all.
I have a small report, short report this time, but just a couple of quick things for us to think about. So first off, I think it's important to say a couple of words on the resolution. Through social media, through email, text, phone calls, I've gotten a lot of comments around how this may be perceived as political. From my standpoint, it's practical. Practical in the sense that when you pass a resolution, it reinforces that we are here for constitutional rights, First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, etc. And second, I think it's very important because it lets the public clearly know where we stand on the issues, helps reinforce trust, and provides that clarity of what we will do and what we won't do. And so I would just offer, in addition to everything you said, from my standpoint, it's a practical resolution, and it's something we need just to have to keep that trust with the public. So thank you for everyone putting that together. Second thing, it is going to be cold again this Saturday. And I bring that up because the teams are working really hard to remove snow, make sure it's all clear, make sure it's safe. But I thought it was worth the mention because all day Saturday and Sunday it's going to be as low as -15. So the roads are going to be slick, it's going to be dangerous, and just for safety, everybody be careful. I do want to give a little bit of a report on some of the great communication we've had. I think that led to two things for the public that went well. Number one is around parking tickets related to the snow. It may not seem important to everybody, but it's important because these roads get really small really fast. First off, we went from 70 tickets in 25 the last time it snowed to 12 during a much greater amount of snow, which is a testament to just how much everybody cares about everybody in the borough and how well we communicated out that it's coming and what you can and can't do. And then when it comes to sidewalks, we made a lot of improvement there. 80 warnings and citations down to 31 citations. So, as I've been driving around looking at the roads and communicating with Chief and a lot of you, I just want to say thank you to everybody who contributed, whether you work for the borough or whether you cleaned your own sidewalk and didn't throw your snow back in the street when you did that. Thank you very much. So those are the two things. I think there's a practical resolution, and I appreciate that we're going to discuss that maybe even further. And number two, it is going to be very, very cold again. Be careful. Thank you.
And I'll note that the Borough Public Works staff has been continually working on clearing remaining snow ever since the snow, well, even during the snowstorm, and they haven't really stopped. I mean, if you go onto Haverford, you can see that the snow piles are 8 feet high. You know, they were bringing dump truck loads, so we've got a little borough strip of land on Foxhall Lane where I live, and they were bringing dump truck loads of snow over there. So they are continuing to do their best to remove snow from the areas where it still is. There's just an awful lot. So
Can I just say, I was on the road at 5 o'clock this morning on Iona, and our Public Works, I drove down and there was the Public Works with our little, what do you call those? Yeah. At 5 o'clock in the morning, he was out there piling up the snow. So.
yeah.
And not to throw Lower Marion under the bus.
No, you should.
But, well,
Our
no.
guys.
If anyone wants to walk across Haverford into the Lower Marion side, I mean, they plowed the road, but they are not removing snow like our Public Works team is at all. I mean, the expectation was there is a lane for the car, and that's about it. So, thank you to Public Works.
Yeah, I think people don't realize that they have not stopped working on
For
the
2
snow
weeks.
since it snowed.
Yeah, and
Every
folks,
day.
a reminder, when you move the snow from your car to behind your car, it's not the borough's responsibility to kind of finish piling out your car. You have to move it onto your property. Anyway, thank you, Public Works.
All right.
And I do appreciate everybody who pitched in, who may not have been part of Public Works. I was happy to see Jim and Mike, and I think Gene, I saw you as well. And I didn't see you personally, but I saw you in a picture, so wonderful. And if you happen to have driven a plow and it's not your job to drive a plow, thank you very much. That's, I'm not, we won't say who it is.
All right. So I would, since we have a vote coming up on the resolution, I would like to move public comment to the next item so that people can respond before the vote. Is there any objection? Okay. So the next item will be public comment. As a reminder, it's limited to 3 minutes. If you wish to make a public comment, please give your name and your address. So start with folks in the room. Should make a public comments here in the second round. All right. Anybody in the back?
Good.
You're good? All right. Anybody online wish to make a public comment? So please raise your hand. We have changed our setup due to some Zoom
Shenanigans.
piracy issues. So you can no longer unmute yourself, but if you raise your hand, is there anybody in the chat?
Yes, we have a few
Okay.
people.
Okay, so if you'd like to make a comment, please raise your hand in the Zoom and we will, our manager will unmute you and identify you and you can begin your comment. Going once, going twice.
I do not see any hands raised.
Okay, I am going to close public comment at this time, and we will move on into our consideration item listed as 6A.
I move to approve resolution 2026-03, limiting cooperation with ICE.
Second.
Seconded, okay. So, as a quick summary, this resolution, let me call it up here, is narrowly tailored. It instructs the police department not to participate in the 287G program with ICE, which authorizes, basically allows law enforcement agencies to take on more of an immigration enforcement role. So right now, our police do not have anything to do with immigration. If you call them, they will come and assist you, regardless of your citizenship status, and they are here for everybody in Narberth to keep us safe. So this would ensure that, or help ensure that it stays that way. It does not prohibit any cooperation with ICE. If ICE shows up with a warrant, our police are still, a judicial warrant, our police are still instructed to acknowledge the authority of the judicial warrant and proceed accordingly, but prevent them from joining the specific program. Any discussion, council members?
First of all, I know this was on the agenda in 2 weeks from now. I want to thank Fred and Cindy for responding to my request to move it up. I'm not going to be here in person in 2 weeks, and I very much wanted to be here for this resolution. I don't want to belabor all the points that Fred and the mayor just made, but I do think it's worth, and being the lawyer on council, what this resolution really does and doesn't do. It is very narrow. It is basically saying to the police, our police department, that we are instructing them not to enter into a cooperation agreement with ICE. We can look at this resolution in 2 ways. One is a strictly legal one and an allocation of resources, and the other, quite frankly, is a moral one. And I think they are both worth and should be discussed in this forum. So I'll start with the legal side first. At the most cynical, if we wanted to put this aside on the morality, it's really a question of how we want to devote our borough resources and what we want our police department to be doing on behalf of the borough and its residents. The job of the police department is to keep our residents safe, and to the extent that they would be required for these agreements to be pulled from their general duties of health and safety and the welfare of our residents to assist in ICE's either legal or illegal, and I'll come back to the legal side in a minute, activities, that is a reallocation, an affirmative reallocation of resources, which means that we actually have to affirmatively agree that that's how we want our human resources and to some extent our financial resources to be spent. I think it's an inappropriate diversion of resources. It's an unnecessary one. Our police department's job is not immigration enforcement. ICE exists for that purpose, for better or for worse. And it is not, I would say, some people would claim that this is somehow anti-law enforcement. If you know me, I served on civil service. I hired one of our police officers. I promoted one of our police officers. I spent my previous term on public health and safety. I have great respect for our police officers. They are well trained. One of the reasons why we hired Officer Casey was that he proactively volunteered to engage in de-escalation training, which is consistent with modern policing, and that was something he had done before he ever joined our force, and we were very impressed by that. He did that through the Sheriff's Department before he joined us. So I would also argue that ICE's tactics, to some extent, or their modus operandi, at least as they exist today, are sort of inconsistent with what both our own police department internally and what we have expected from our police department in the past. Their mode of operation is antithetical to what we expect from our own police forces. So, entering into such an agreement would actually create, I think, an inappropriate tension between what we expect of our police officers and what they would be expected to do on behalf of ICE. If you want to be at the most cynical level, somebody I know yesterday complained to the police advisory committee that we spent money on Mr. Walco to review this ordinance for us. I would actually suggest to you that if you just want to look at this from a fiduciary responsibility, entering into such an agreement would create a financial risk to us. We need to mitigate our own risk of legal exposure. As a lawyer, you probably have read enough social media to know that the legal standard for holding federal officers to account is fairly high. It is a pretty difficult bar to meet. But the standard in general is that if there is, if the police are knowingly acting, or law enforcement are knowingly acting in violation of clearly established laws and rules, that is the exception. So you have to prove that they knowingly were violating a clearly established rule. I would submit to you, based on the now, I think we're up to a dozen different federal courts that have instructed ICE that they have in fact been violating the Constitution, that in fact, should ICE come here and engage in similar conduct and our police department were part of that, that we in fact could be subject to legal exposure under those standards, because courts have pretty clearly said what those standards are, and at least as of today, ICE seems to be continuing to act in derogation of those standards. Closely related to that, I think, is the fact that courts have already said that, and I think I can give my own opinion on this, that ICE has violated the First Amendment by claiming that people cannot film them while they're engaged in their enforcement actions, which is actually not true, well established by the Court of Appeals here. The Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment against unlawful searches and seizures by going door to door without warrants, the Fifth Amendment and the 14th Amendment regarding due process. I would respectfully suggest that having consistently engaged in that process, ICE has effectively forfeited the right to ask us to deviate and to devote our own resources to their own illegal activity. That's the pure legal side of it. Some people claim that this is a political statement, and I would say, well, politics and morality often cross, and this is one of those situations. That you can use the disparaging term virtue signaling. I've seen that used in a disparaging way. And I don't think that, let's assume that it is virtue signaling. And I think there is virtue to virtue signaling, quite frankly. And I'm going to deviate a little bit to tell a family anecdote. And the family anecdote is this. After World War II, my grandfather got a note from relatives who came from their hometown in Ukraine, who told the story of when the Germans arrived in their town. They lined up the men to take them off, concentration camps or otherwise work camps. And the women were all lined up with their children, watching this happen. They weren't taking the women and children, only the men. My uncle's grandson, so my first cousin twice removed, I guess, was 4 years old, saw his father about to be taken away, and broke the line and tried to run to his father. A German soldier picked that boy up by his ankles and smashed his head against a tree, killing him instantly. Now, you could say that that German soldier committed murder in that moment, and that was the moment, that led to that child's murder. But the truth of the matter is that there was probably 20 years of enablement that led to that situation. Authoritarianism and fascism don't happen overnight. It's a slippery slope. The rise of fascism in the 20s and 30s largely occurred because people in small boroughs and towns and cities didn't stand up and say enough is enough. And I am not going to sit here and be one of those people that 30 years from now people are going to look back and say, why didn't somebody say something or do something or anything else? We've seen the power of the people in Minneapolis resisting the illegal activities. It seems to be having some sort of positive effect across the country, and I think it's important that we add our voice to the chorus of resistance and dissent. At the end of the day, I don't want my grandchildren to be facing a similar story and asking me, well, Dad or Grandpa, what did you do to stop the murder whatever it is that might happen 20 years from now. So you may call it virtue signaling. I call it a moral obligation, and I don't see any reason at all, any good reason, why we shouldn't loudly and aggressively pursue this very small thing that we can do as a signal there, because there's really not much we can do as a locality except for this, to add our voices to our colleagues and friends in Minneapolis, some of whom I know, one of whom I was thrown to the ground by ICE, and it's actually a plaintiff in one of the lawsuits. So I think that's all I have to say, and I appreciate the opportunity from all of you to let me move this up to today so I can say it in person.
Thank you.
All right, who wants to follow that?
Just
Thank
say
you.
I was
thank you.
offering to go last, but nobody said anything.
I have some
Okay, go ahead, Jean.
That's tough to follow. I do want to bring the focus back to our local law enforcement. Our chief of police and director of public health and safety has been working really hard over the last 3 years to earn the trust of our community. And they've done that through the meet and greet sessions, and just acting with integrity with every interaction with our residents, and working with our police advisory committee, and working together with the community towards improving public safety. So we know our officers' names, their faces, they participate in their events. We have an amazing police department who are very much a part of our community. And this hard-earned trust and this cooperative partnership is pretty essential to public safety. And that's what makes Narberth a safer place to live. And when our community members trust in our law enforcement, they feel comfortable reaching out to them for assistance, whether it's to report a crime, whether it's to report a crash or a public safety hazard, and that all makes our community safer. And we can't afford to erode that trust. And what this resolution does, in my opinion, it keeps our community safer by preserving that trust in our police department, and it has, and I will also note that Narberth has a representative number of undocumented immigrants relative to the rest of Pennsylvania. If it had the representative number, that would mean we'd have 68 in Narberth. So those are the people who work, support our businesses, fill our labor gaps, contribute to school communities, and most of them pay taxes without ever being able to receive benefits like Social Security, Medicare, SNAP, or housing assistance. And if any of those residents avoid calling 911 to report a public safety hazard or to serve as a witness to a crime, or to call for medical assistance for their neighbor because they fear that local law enforcement is working with immigration enforcement, that makes our community less safe. And so I really believe the safety of our community relies on that partnership between the law enforcement and that. So I also want to say this resolution, to echo what Dana was saying, it provides clarity to our community by affirming that our local tax dollars and our local police will not be used for civil immigration enforcement. It also helps protect our police force, as Mike Simonson said, from the potential legal liability of many of the current ICE operations. And it protects our resident taxpayers' money that goes into our small, unlimited police force, and ensures that those resources go towards local public safety efforts that will have the most impact for our community, and not towards civil immigration efforts. So I think you did a great job of iterating what this resolution does do and doesn't do, but I want to reiterate that it does not obstruct federal immigration agents from conducting their activities. It doesn't bar our police from enforcing criminal warrants that are legally issued by a judge or a judicial officer. It doesn't prevent them from continuing to enforce crimes, regardless of their immigration status. But what this resolution does do is that it ensures that the public safety of our community, by providing clarity to both our community and to our police about the separation between local law enforcement and ICE operations. And so I support this resolution.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you to council leadership and to the mayor for coordinating on the statement earlier. I thought it was an excellent statement. Thank you all for bringing this resolution to the table. I echo everything that's already been said. And yeah, I mean, if there is any question as to whether this resolution is warranted or not, I would say the fact of what's happening on the streets of this country right now are justification enough.
You said it all beautifully. I would just add that we are elected officials by our neighbors, and I think in voting for this, we are in fact reflecting their desire and why they voted for us. It'd be irresponsible for us not to do so.
I fully support the resolution and love everything that's been said. No need to repeat it. I was asked a question that I didn't know the answer to. One of our residents asked that it's unusual to have a resolution brought up in a meeting for the first time and voted at a meeting for the first time, but it's not.
It's
Okay,
not. We've
thank
done
you.
that a number of times.
Yeah.
It can vary. I mean, a resolution has lower it doesn't need to be advertised, so there's no particular reason it can't be brought up and voted on. In this case, there was enough community attention to the matter, and the resolution itself is fairly simple.
Yep.
So if the resolution were more complicated, or if I think that the will of council weren't as clear, then it might take more time, but given the situation, I think we're all comfortable proceeding.
Perfect,
Police
thank
council
you.
leadership is comfortable proceeding, I'll
Yep.
say.
Thanks.
Jim, I skipped over you.
Well, sorry, yeah, I can't possibly top. So it's very moving to hear from Mike, Gene, and from everyone who supports this. I think more than comfortable moving ahead with a resolution like this and supporting the sentiments of everyone at this table. I don't have anything to add. I think, well, do I? I don't know. I mean, a number of us are children of immigrants, myself included, you know. It hits home a little. Yeah, I support this.
Mr. Mayor?
I think I've made my statements
Okay.
clear. I think trust, clarity, and constitutional rights are the practical matter. I have full faith in John and his team. And the symbolism of doing it in the week of the Benito Bowl is wonderful for me too. So
All right.
it's great.
Chief String, I mean, we've talked to you while we're crafting this, so I think you're...
The only thing I'll add, and I'll echo what was said last night at Police Advisory Committee, is, we want 911 to be the resource. If any resident feels a concern, like, that should be their first thought to call 911. Us being able to get to a situation, identify what's going on, and address any concerns, I think is the greatest support that we can provide the community.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, seeing no other discussion, let's move on to a vote on Resolution 2026-03, limiting cooperation with ICE. All those in favor? Okay, it is unanimous. All right, let's move on to our discussion items. First item is Elm Grove pedestrian bridge. I don't think we need a motion for this.
No motion for tonight, so this is just for discussion, and I apologize to our audience, we do not have our video working, so I can't show you the plans. But this is a grant application that we're actively working on, so this is for the removal of the existing Elmwood Avenue pedestrian bridge and the construction of the new, we're calling it the Elm Grove Park pedestrian bridge. This is going to be located on the north side of Elmwood Avenue, where it terminates at the tributary creek next to Wynwood Avenue Road.
East Wynwood at that point? Is it East
Does it
Wynwood or
move
is
to
it North
East
Wynwood?
Wynwood?
Yeah. I think it's probably East Wynwood.
Yeah.
East Wynwood Road, yes. So the project has been discussed I think for many years, and it did get included in our master parks plan as an improvement related to Elm Grove Park, which is the borough's newest park. And the purpose of this is the current pedestrian bridge is starting to deteriorate, and we have some safety concerns if it exists for too much longer. It doesn't currently serve really access into the park either. So the plan is to take down the existing bridge and build a newer, safer bridge. The current bridge is on the south side. This would be on the north side, and council has the plans in your packets. This is available on our website if anybody wants to take a look at this. But the proposal is to, like I said, shift the bridge from the south side to the north side, and then along with that, we will be doing some associated stream bank stabilization efforts. So I learned a new term, they're called Gabion baskets. So those are the kind of wire baskets filled with stones that you can kind of Tetris together. So we're going to be doing some stream bank stabilization there. I believe there's also a little bit of culvert work that has to happen, and then a walkway. So where the proposed bridge, and you can see this on the plan set, so where the proposed bridge then crosses over, so it will tie into the sidewalk network on the north side of Elmwood Avenue, cross the tributary stream, and then on the park side, there will be a landing, and then we're going to do a stub out walkway, which will connect into a future phase of park improvements where we will be putting a walkway through the park itself. But since we don't quite have, we're not at that stage yet, so we're just going to put a stub out there, and then we're going to have almost like a little loop trail to get up to the sidewalk then on Winwood Road. So this will create then full ADA access. So then we will have ADA access connecting from Winwood Road to Elmwood Avenue, and the stub out for future connections into the park. And then as an added feature of the plan, we are also considering installing a stormwater feature, which isn't quite shown on these plans, but on Elmwood Avenue, we do have the opportunity to do a stormwater management feature. So this would be both a sediment capture and a stormwater management, so a volume. So this is kind of a full stormwater BMP, not dissimilar to what our stormwater bump outs are. The bump outs though are for sediment capture only. This would also then provide some volume control. So that would be then on Elmwood Avenue, kind of in that landscaped area. We would need to take just a little bit of the road itself for that, but that is being considered as part of the overall project. The grant that we're considering as first up is the Monco 2040 grant. This is a grant that's administered by the Montgomery County Planning Commission. These are county funds, and it's part of their implementation process for the county's comprehensive plan. As a shout out, the county is working on their new 2050 comprehensive plan. So go online, check it out. There's engagement opportunities for all of the residents across the county to participate in sharing feedback on that. So a little shout out to MCPC. So the Monco 2040 grant is going to be the next up on the docket. This one is due March 2nd, so coming up soon. So tonight I just wanted to present the plans to you, get your feedback if you have any comments, questions, or concerns. And then before you, at your business meeting, we will have a funding resolution, which we'll need as part of our grant package, to simply state that we will commit to providing the match dollars for the program. And I realized I believe the match dollars are going to be 20%, but I'm going to get some information and get back to you on that. We're still waiting for our engineer to provide us with the cost estimates. So I don't have those numbers for you just yet. I will have those for you though in the weeks leading up to the business meeting. So we're still waiting on those final numbers. So we have the plan, we have the concept. We are also concurrently working on a grant application for DCNR. It's the C2P2 grant, it's the Community Conservation Partnership Program, C2P2. That is a similar grant. I did speak with both MCPC and DCNR already. They require a pre-application coordination meeting with the project liaisons. So those meetings have concluded. We do have support, however, preliminary from both of those organizations that the project has some good, strong standing. So we're just working on that narrative to kind of beef that up and ensure that we present the best possible application that we can. MCPC will be administering their grant earlier, so they will award the grants by, I'm going to say summer. They kind of give a loose timeline. DCNR doesn't award their grants until the fall. So what we're going to do is we're going to commit to the match dollars for each grant individually. But if we get if we get both grants, each grant can actually count as match towards the other grant, which reduces then any borough dollars that we would have to put towards the implementation of the project. For both grants, preliminary engineering is not a qualified expense, so the costs for engineering services for the design and cost, construction cost estimates, those are going to be borne by us just as part of our engineering package. But the actual implementation for the construction, if, like I said, we get both of these grants, then they're going to offset each other. We do also have a third grant opportunity that we will be pursuing for the stormwater portion of this. This is with the County Conservation District, and it is for, like I said, just the stormwater portion of this grant. So you can take the grants and kind of peel out different components of it, since the bridge wouldn't be a qualifying project, but the stormwater feature would be, and that is under their low volume road grant, which is how we were able to get the grant funds for the stormwater bump outs that we installed on Grayling Avenue. So it's the same concept, Elmwood Ave, because it's a stub out street, it qualifies as a low volume road. The county has told us that they are seeking projects on low volume roads, so we qualify for that. We've already discussed the project with them last year when we were doing the bump out analysis with them, so that is another third opportunity for us to get additional funds towards this project. And again, if we are successful in all three grants, then it could possibly mean that we have a $0 outlay for the borough for the entire implementation portion of this project, which would be a huge win. But we did budget in our capital plan and in our budget that we would pay for this in full. So we do have the money to complete the project, even if we get none of the grants. However, if we do get the grant dollars, that'll open up our capital funding for other projects. And I know that Jeff has some snow equipment that he would like to.
I can't imagine what would prompt that request. Okay.
Woke up in the middle of the night with the sun of Epiphany.
Maybe we should get some new snow equipment.
Yeah.
All right.
Way to hustle and connect those grants there, Mike.
Yeah, thanks,
Good
folks.
connection.
Questions? All set, Maggie?
Yes.
Okay.
You mentioned safety issues. Do the safety issues and the rate of degradation of the bridge, are those faster than our ability to get the grant and complete the project?
No. The bridge is still in viable condition. So this is, we are monitoring it, and we have planned this work to ensure that, so we would be then doing the actual construction in early spring of next year, just given how the grant awards are going to be timed out. If we do get early awards, we could potentially move forward with actual construction towards the end of this year, but we have kind of budgeted a timeline of construction completion in early spring of next year. But the bridge is stable. It is still, it has not reached a condition where it is unsafe. We are continuing to monitor it though, and if it does degrade faster than we anticipate, then yes, we will need to shut it down for a period of time until we can complete the project. But it is not in such a deteriorated condition that it cannot still be used right now. But it does make it a high priority project for us.
So if we're going to do the stormwater work, does that mean we're going to postpone bump outs this year and not do bump outs this year?
Well, again, the implementation is going to be 2027 for this.
Okay. So we'd be looking at maybe 2027 not doing bump outs.
So potentially, again, depending on how this engineers out in terms of meeting our sediment capture and volume rate control
Okay.
requirements, This may offset some of the bump outs that we'd have to do in 2027, but this does not allow us to not do a bump out project or stormwater projects in 2026. So
Got
we're
it.
still moving forward with our bump out plan for 26. We are looking at the south side though, because we haven't done any bump outs yet on the south side, and there's a couple of good candidates that have good sediment capture opportunities. So I know that Pannoni will be coming for us soon with those recommendations at infrastructure to take a look at those.
Does that particular stormwater, does it also capture a flood? Is there like a flood capture as well?
Yeah, yes, and so we've had a number of preliminary permitting meetings with DEP since this is crossing a stream channel, and because we're making modifications to the stream bank itself, this requires DEP permitting. So you can't do anything that impacts the waters of the Commonwealth without getting DEP approval. Adding the stormwater facility, one of the reasons why we weren't sure that we wanted to do that at first is because it would move our permit status from like a special permit to a general permit, and the general permit has just more requirements. So we weren't sure if we were going to be able to meet all of those requirements by adding the stormwater facility as part of this project. Pannoni has been working though with DEP on these pre-application reviews, and so we are confident that we will be able to move forward with it as a combined project, and so we are teed up to get our DEP permits. Those won't be issued until after the grants have to be submitted, so there's going to be a couple of contingencies in that, you know, the grant, in our grant application, we'll say, you know, we have been working through DEP, like we have everything in order, we just don't yet have the permit in hand. So we're teeing everything up so that it will all be included in the grant application. But this is typical that it's a shovel-ready project, but you know, pending permits. So that shouldn't really impact our.
I guess my question was, I know it counts towards our credits for sediment capture, but does it also count towards our credit for flood reduction?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So not flood reduction, but volume control.
Volume control.
Yeah,
okay.
so I'm sorry, because when you say flood reduction, I'm thinking the stream channel itself.
Oh, yeah.
Because the stream, this is in the floodplain. So that is something that we did have to consider, and Tony presented on this previously, that in terms of the height of the bridge and will it be high enough above the floodplain so that it won't get washed out. So they are looking at the design from a flooding perspective.
Yeah.
But to your question about volume control, yes, I mean the stormwater feature would be both the sediment capture and volume rate control. And mainly it would be capturing, the benefit of doing this is that it captures a lot of that sediment and it can slow down the water as it approaches that tributary. So it actually does a really great job of kind of cleaning the water before it gets into the actual stream channel itself. Because right now the road, the washout from the road just goes right into the channel. There's a little bit of a vegetation buffer, but this is going to do a much more comprehensive job.
So it's a great bang for the buck.
Yeah.
And we're actually getting two for the price of one, essentially. That's what Tony said.
Thank you.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
And it looks like the plan removes 2 trees.
Yes, there are some scraggly trees that are going to be in the way just in terms of where we have to lay the supports for the bridge. They're not really specimen trees, but yes, we will have to take out 2 trees.
Suggest we do some kind of a planting to go along with that,
Okay.
to replace those trees,
Sure.
especially since it's now a Borough Park.
The sidewalk, the bridge, the sidewalk on the east side of the bridge is concrete, and then there's the bridge, and then it's an asphalt sidewalk on the Wynwood Road side of the bridge, leading to a concrete sidewalk. I just had a question that we might not know the answer to. Why are we using an asphalt sidewalk rather than concrete? I think concrete lasts longer.
Yeah, so that's all pre-existing is the asphalt sidewalk.
Oh, thank you.
It's replaced.
Oh, got it, thanks.
Yeah,
So it's not necessarily,
so we're not adding, no, we're not adding that. So if you take a look at the plans, you see the depiction of the concrete sidewalk that has the little triangles
Yep.
in them. that's the darker color, that's new, that's added. Anything that's grayed is existing. So that asphalt sidewalk there, that, I don't, you guys would know the history of this better than I would, but that was, I think, a remnant of when there used to be a road that crossed there.
Yep.
So that's not actually like a true sidewalk, it's just a vestigial kind of asphalt roadway that now serves as the sidewalk, since the road was closed to through traffic.
Thank you. Got it.
All right, so I think Maggie's just gonna want our approval of presenting this project to the county for the grant. Is everyone comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay.
And we recommended it out of infrastructure.
All right. I see a lot of nods. You need to vote from us, or you could just?
No, not tonight.
approve it? Okay.
So it sounds like everyone is also supportive of doing the stormwater feature as well. So we're going to be working toot sweet with our engineer the next couple weeks and get everything prepared for the business meeting. So like I said, the next step is to have the resolution, the funding resolution before you at the business meeting later this month, and then we're going to wrap up all of our cost engineering and our final design plans and our narrative and package that up for our March 2nd deadline. So we're on track with all of that, and I look forward to seeing the results of our grant applications.
So one more clarifier, I think I missed, you said it, but I think I missed the date. When you said that if we don't get the grants, we have the money in the capital budget, did you mean in the 27 capital budget?
We put it in 26 and 27.
Any
So-
reason we wouldn't want to just, if we're going to get refunded, that we wouldn't just want to start that?
So the grants aren't refund. You can't do the project and then get refunded. So we can't move on the work now. Now, if we do get awarded the grant funding, and we said in the grant application we wanted to do the work in early spring 27, and we ended up doing the work in fall 26. Once the grant is awarded, we just have to follow their grant administration process to just track all of our expenditures. But we couldn't do the work before we actually get the grant award.
Because I did walk over the bridge before I came, because I wanted to see like what it was. I would be for like doing it sooner.
Understood.
We've got a bunch done with grants where we started.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we actually learned our lesson.
Yeah.
We did some project work before we got the grant, and then they were like, oh, no, you can't have that money,
Yeah.
because you were gonna, in theory, you proved that you were gonna do it whether or not we gave you the money.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
um,
An expensive one.
Yeah, every grant works a little bit differently, but most grants don't allow you to retroactively count work. Some do, but
Got it.
not here.
Might just use some grip tape or something. Just a thought.
What is it?
Might use some grip tape or something.
Grip tape, okay. Okay.
we'll take a look at it when the weather gets more reasonable.
Yeah,
Maybe
we'll
when people are
send-
crossing it right now.
Yeah, you'll send Jeff out to take a look, and we'll have our engineer. I
Or
mean,
when the snow
structurally,
melts.
it's still fine, but it might need, we can put some lipstick on the pig to get it through the last season of its life.
Oh.
All right. Are you feeling sorry for the bridge?
No, bridges, look, even the talk of fixing bridges makes me twitch. Even if it's
Fair.
4 feet.
All right.
This is a much smaller bridge
I know, but
project.
that's just.
No utilities,
Yeah.
no state authorities, no
Yeah,
railroad.
yeah,
Just DEP.
I know, but
Okay, let's move on to the facilities reservation policy.
All right, so I sent this out to you all. Wanted just to kind of touch base on the facilities rental. So we allow rentals of this room and the multipurpose room. We're just going to be focused on the facilities rental in this building and not focused on the facilities rental of our parks space. We don't really have any issues with that. That seems to be working fine. The concern that we have seen recently is that the policy, it appears the last time it was updated was 2019, as best I can tell. And it allows for some freedom and flexibility of exemptions from rental fees for certain user groups. And then it just gives kind of carte blanche permissions to council to then determine eligibility exemptions for any group not listed in the kind of catch-all group. And there's some blanket clauses in there that says that no deposit or room fee is required for any free event that is open to the public. So what constitutes a free event and what constitutes open to the public? It's a relatively straightforward term. It is quite a broad term though, and as such we've interpreted it quite liberally because this is a community resource. We're not trying to make money on this. We're not a rental hall. But we are starting to see some wear and tear on the building. We are replacing the elevator later this year because of the additional use that it's been receiving from these recurring user groups in addition to routine borough businesses. Our plumbing has been experiencing some trouble. And again, we don't get a lot of kind of visitors on a day-to-day basis, so a lot of this is from the recurring users and non-recurring users, so just general users of the building. I was informed as well by our housemen that they're going to be putting in a request to replace all of the tables next year. So I don't even know how many tables or what that cost is going to be.
Some of those tables are pretty busted.
Yeah, so they're quite old. And, so the use of the space, not to mention heat, AC, electrical, and all of the kind of pertinent utilities that go along with it.
Sure.
So one of the issues that you all know I'm very focused on is how can we streamline operations? How can we take the questions out of this process? How can we make this routine? And how can we expedite these sorts of routine reviews and approvals? And what we're encountering is that we have a lot of groups that are new to the borough rental process, and we are spending a lot of time researching, like, who are they? Are they a nonprofit? Does this event qualify? Folks are also hesitant to kind of put additional information either because they just don't know, and so there's a lot of follow-up questions. So it's taking more staff time than I think we should be spending on this, and it's kind of creating a lot of consternation. As I mentioned, our housemen have also kind of come to me with concerns about the frequency of events. They are seeming to increase in frequency. We have a number of new kind of recurring users that have requested the space on an ongoing basis. For example, we have a girls running club. It's not free and open to the public, so they wanted to come and use the space for a couple times a week for about 12 weeks. So they're defined in that time period. But then we just got a new application in this week from somebody who wants to have monthly, I guess, lecture type series once a month for some amount of time. Didn't define it, but just indicated that this was going to be a monthly recurring thing. So in our facilities rental, we also have this recurring user agreement. We do have a standard agreement form, so it's not that we have to reinvent the wheel for that, but again, at what point do we consider folks to be a recurring user? So we have people like the youth aid panel. They come in on a routine basis, but we don't have them set up as a recurring user. They just, again, past practice and kind of this is how it's always been done mentality, which has largely worked, but we're starting to see conflicts with folks wanting the rooms on the same dates, or we're starting to see people where we're allowing events that are somewhat back-to-back, which leaves little time for our housemen to reset the room. And our housemen are not full-time property maintenance keepers. They are out on service calls. They're firefighters. So we can't always guarantee that they're going to be here. And also the events running. So I've articulated all of this kind of in the policy. So really, because the policy currently allows council to kind of have the final say in who is and who is not exempt from a fee perspective. So the main things were the fees, and we've been doing some research on this, and that other municipalities will charge on a per hour basis. They'll have a sliding scale of fees for residents versus non-residents. So right now there's a difference in kind of what we do versus what some other municipalities do, and obviously everyone is going to be different, and the fees need to be based on kind of the expectations for what we need. So the recommended action there is just, can we clarify who's eligible for free events so that we can stop the guessing game? We can provide clarity to the folks who are applying for this so that they know when they apply that they are exempt. because often people will just apply, and then we go through the whole process and we say, oh, it's gonna be this much money, and they say, oh wait, never mind, I thought I was gonna get this for free, I don't want this anymore. So now we've gone through the process of reviewing everything and approving it, only for them to kind of back out, because there's not that clarity there on fees. The event timing is something that I think is pretty straightforward. Again, our housemen, they do work 24-hour shifts, so they are here, but again, if they're out on calls, and they also are human beings and don't like to work third shift, so they do sleep while they're here, and they are woken up when the calls come in, but if they're here kind of late, breaking down an event, and then we have New Horizons as a recurring user, then, if they're breaking down events at 11 o'clock, New Horizons is coming in at 9 o'clock, and it's an event that's like full on, food, and maybe it's a fundraiser event, and there's, 18 tables up and 100 chairs, and they have to sweep and they have to mop because the food got spilled and da-da-da. So it's just a lot for them to be cleaning up at 11 o'clock at night when they might be, pulled away on a call. So we're looking at just kind of staff considerations. So the recommendation here is to limit the event, limit how late the events are during, we'll call them school nights, so Sunday through Thursday. Again, the frequency of events, our houseman did make a request that we don't have events that do have like the party events. So the lecture events are fine, podium and chairs are easier, but when we get into like the party events, the fundraiser events, anything with like food or beverage, it starts to typically indicate much more substantial setup and tear down. And so having those on, again, those weeknights can be difficult because the room has to be fully reset for New Horizons by the following morning. And then again, recurring users, we have a number of recurring users who do come in monthly. It is a standard kind of practice that has been going on for who knows how long. So at this point, do we then set the policy to say if you have a recurring use that's more than X period of time, we're going to ask you to sign a recurring user agreement. So that would cover the youth aid panel, that would cover the Lower Merion Democratic Committee who comes monthly. This would cover the garden club that has monthly meetings. So we have a number of people who do have monthly meetings. Are we then going to ask them to set up as recurring users? Or do we want to set a different standard for what we mean when we say recurring user? And then alcohol usage came up. This is more of this is something that I've been working with our solicitor on. So we're going to have 3 tiers for the alcohol. So we're going to have like our special events alcohol, which is the indemnification, which is the additional insurance. And then we're going to come up with 2 tiers of alcohol usage for the building here. One that would be served alcohol. So for example, the library had the Requizzo night, they had served alcohol, right? Vendors came in and provided the alcohol. Ish, right?
Yeah,
Sort of,
yeah,
or-
kind
or-
of, no, more like,
Yeah.
Versus BYOB. So most people.
It was not BYOB.
well.
Well, there was some of that too.
No, it wasn't, I think I probably understand the nuance of that, is if you hire someone to serve alcohol, that bartender or restaurant has their own license
Right.
and
Correct.
insurance, which was not the case.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So there's
so there
different-
is a difference.
There is a
Okay.
difference because you have
Yeah.
somebody who is serving alcohol
And with
under
insurance.
under their
Oh,
umbrella
Right.
policy versus somebody who's just, having a party.
Right,
It's a 60th wedding anniversary and they're popping some champagne
yeah.
that they bring themselves. So there's a difference in that from a usage and a liability.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we're drafting
Working
kind
on
of
it.
3 tiers of that. So that's in the works. That's not an issue. We're going to be working that out. And then finally, the kitchen use. I didn't have an opportunity to talk to New Horizons today, but they are licensed by the health department to use the kitchen here because they have catering services, and so they have their own health department licensing that they have to follow. And I'm not actually entirely sure as to how that, if we allow user groups to come in and use the kitchen, does that then violate any?
I'll tell you what, Maggie, if you can
Approvals.
solve the New Horizons kitchen dilemma that has been going for at least solidly 8 years on council, if not before, in my volunteers, I think it will open up like a Narnia cave. Like, I think it might be the biggest like a mystery of the borough. We cannot figure out how to give folks access to that kitchen.
Well, I can say that I'm not sure anybody else uses the kitchen. I'm not sure
And I-
anybody else has asked to use the kitchen.
Oh, many people
Oh,
have
have
asked.
they?
us to
They
use the
ask.
kitchen.
That's the
Absolutely,
thing,
yeah.
is
and
they
we
ask.
cannot figure out how to
And
negotiate this.
it's a gray area, and the kitchen is not mentioned at all in the policy. If you go through the policy,
We
it's
need to
not even
clarify
mentioned, which would indicate then that there's no usage at all. But we need to figure out if A, we can give people usage, because if you're coming in for a party and you're popping champagne and you know, want to rinse out a couple glasses, what are you going to go to the bathroom? Like, you want to use the kitchen.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna allow that, then we need to set parameters on that use. The kitchen itself is also just somewhat challenging. I mean, that the stove in there is, I don't even know if it works. It's pretty busted. So there's a couple kind of like safety usage things that we would wanna iron out if we're gonna kind of open this up to user groups. So these are the main things that keep me up at night, and just wanted to get them before you and share the concerns of staff. To get some clarity on this, because again, I don't want to have to sit here and reinvent the wheel every time we get an application that comes in for a user group. So I want just some clarity on the topic, and particularly the kind of who are the users and what are the fees. That's really the main one. I think the other things are pretty straightforward, maybe except for the kitchen, but the user groups in particular is kind of the main sticky point right now. Who are they? Are they recurring? What do we call recurring users? What are we charging them, if anything? And as long as we can get that ironed out, again, as the entity responsible per the policy to make these decisions, I'm asking you to help me define those parameters.
So can I, let me just suggest real quick, does anybody have an issue with changing the closing time on weeknights to 10 PM? It's currently 11. The request is to change it from 11 to 10. Okay, you can go ahead and implement. No?
Why not 9 o'clock? Why 10?
Why not 9 o'clock? Well,
Okay, that's
right,
why.
stuff,
Does that include, so that includes, 10 PM would be like you're done breakdown and you're out of
You're out.
here.
Okay,
I mean, 10 was their request. That's what was Maggie's request.
Oh,
and
sorry.
that-
Thank you.
why I
That's
fine.
suggested.
Good.
I mean, so theoretically, the event would potentially need to be over at 9 for them to kind of be cleared out by 10.
excellent, got it.
So,
Thank
you know, we can make that clearer to say, the 10 PM is not your event ends at 10, but like, y'all need to get out of here at 10.
Mm.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as to the issue with the breakdown problem and like that issue, I think you can say the event has to end at a certain time. And then, you know, just build in that breakdown time,
Yeah.
cleanup time.
All right, so I think we're comfortable with changing the
So would that affect?
drop dead time to 10.
Would that affect any like known recurring users who do go past 10 sort of habitually? Like, are we trying to clamp down on those people, or?
No, and again, it's largely in response to some of these new events that have popped up, where we had like a request for a Wednesday to have this like fundraiser dinner.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we're talking 15 tables, you know, over 100 chairs set up. It's just a lot
Yeah.
to then have to clean up after.
Sure.
I don't believe that they're planning, I don't remember what their end time was on their application, but
Okay.
I don't think that 10 PM is going to be problematic from a user standpoint for our school nights. But that will help us to kind of be more clear with the users, just to give our housemen a little bit more snooze
And
time.
when we say, it's not that like all the chairs and tables have to be put away because the houseman does that. It's like they have to be out of the room, remove their food.
Yes.
Like basically, the room has to be
They have to
vacated.
They have to vacate the premises so
By
that, by 10. So
Okay.
they have to, by 10, they need to leave and the room needs to look as it did when they arrived.
Right.
Okay.
So I did
Sounds
ask
good.
if it would be helpful to the housemen to have the users themselves, like stack the chairs, help break down the tables, and I heard a resounding no.
Yep, that's
All right.
what I thought. Okay.
Great.
Okay, so,
I was just gonna say, you know, having been a user on the other side when I was doing stuff for North Community Theater, I will tell you that even from the user side, there was a complete lack of clarity. So as I went through Borough staff, and that changed over time with the, you know, person who was sort of working as the secretary receptionist who was handling it, every time, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a charge of $600. And I was like, well, no, actually, we're not on the list, but council has told us that we count as one of those freebies, et cetera. So, you know, the rules weren't even clear for the users. And then, like, if I didn't make the reservation, but the director then called, and then they gave him a different story, and I had to intervene. So it's
Clarity.
overdue.
We need
for,
clarity.
Yeah, overdue for clarity.
I had no idea there was a running club there. I mean, I think there's probably more users that we may not be aware of unless you all knew there was an outside running club.
I went through and looked at the list of reservations. I mean, I hadn't been aware of the running club until now, but
I mean,
did
they're
go through.
they're a new one. It actually sounds like a really cool group.
Yeah.
They're called Girls on the Run, and it's like
Okay, that's a good
like
idea.
you know, for like 8 to 12-year-old kind of age range, and you know, they do like leadership and empowerment and kind of get together, and so they'll be outside. We'll see them like running, so they'll be running
Yeah.
outside, but then they'll be here in the room and kind of doing
Yeah.
other activities and you know, stretches and jumping jacks and such. So it sounds really cool, and I'm really excited. We have it's the leader of the group is a Narberth resident, so she reached out a couple of weeks ago about that, and so it sounds like a cool group.
I think the challenge is, and I wish, I'd really like to find this clip that Barbara Fortnite said years ago, and how we kind of give resources and in-kind donations to nonprofits, because she so kind of beautifully captured that, you know, it is tax dollars that support the maintenance of the bathroom and the elevator and whatnot. And I love to hear that our community space is being used by such a diverse sort of group, and I don't want to do anything that limits the community from being able to provide programming and whatnot to our space. But with that said, I do think there should be a distinction of Narberth tax dollars should not be going for paying outside of Narberth groups.
It's tricky how you define it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
you know,
But
yeah,
that,
I
yeah,
think we're providing a service by providing these rooms, and they're available to everyone. I think.
well, I don't know about that. I mean, if you have.
I mean, it's a service. You don't expect the service to recoup all of its fees, right? It's like the postal service. They're a service.
Well, it's not. I'm not saying recoup all of our fees, but let's say it's a Bala Kinwood Hunting Club that wants to use our space. I would suggest, well, we should charge them.
so
Because
but-
Narberth tax
Aren't we
dollars.
talking about things that are open to the public? Like, those are the ones that are.
Yeah, so let's go
Right.
back to the determination that Maggie started with, which is figuring out what groups under our current policy should be allowed to. I mean, can we just ask them on the initial form, is your event free? Is your event open to the public? I mean,
Yeah, so the application does have that.
Yeah.
so what's the where does the difficulty arise in figuring out if they qualify?
Because of the way that the policy is written, because it says events are free, events don't have user fees if they're free and open to the public, which, and let me get the language, like, and they're being sponsored by the following groups.
Oh, so we don't say
Yeah.
just everybody.
Yeah.
So
Can-
it's
right.
confusing because it's like you could interpret it as the blanket statement, free and open to the public. So then why would we then caveat it to list, you know, like borough organizations, councils and committees, boards and commissions of Narberth Borough, and then goes on to list the Narberth Business Association,
The Civic
Friends of
Association.
Sabine, the Civic Association,
Scouts.
and then just like a couple of other, like,
I don't
you know,
remember all of them.
NICE.
Yeah.
I don't know if NICE even operates anymore. So it lists like
And then it-
Narberth
right.
community groups
And then it says such
specifically,
other groups as
and then
the
such
council.
other groups as approved by council. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to come to council every time we get a request, and that is just not a really great solution.
Okay.
Can I suggest the following? I think we probably all agree that the issues you've outlined are an issue, and that maybe the way to handle it is to refer this to a committee to like work out recommendations on logistics and then come back to us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Body
I had
should go to-
suggested that it come to F&A.
Alright.
So I don't know if there's any, you know, please feel free to have any kind of group discussion, but I mean, if we do want to institute certain fees for residents versus non-residents, and I'll make sure that you have the actual, I mean, it's in the, if you go into the permit page and pull up the language, it's just very confusing, because then it also says, events are also free for nonprofit groups holding fundraisers. So you have to be a nonprofit. So now we're looking you up because there's nothing on the application form that requires you to submit proof of nonprofit status. So now we're looking you up on the IRS lookup tool to see if you're a registered, active nonprofit.
You could just ask them if they're a registered nonprofit. I mean,
Yeah.
Sometimes try getting a hold of these people after they submit applications.
put it on the
It's like,
form.
well, right, yes. So that, which is an easy change, but that's one thing that's currently like an issue. Easily overcome. Easily overcome, but still like an extra step that we have to do. And then, fundraising events. So then, Kelsey had a question because we had a group who wanted to do a fundraising event, but they were charging tickets at the door. And she's like, well, that's not free. I said, well, that is the fundraiser, is that it's a
that's the
donation, like the
fundraiser.
ticket,
Right.
the entry ticket is the donation. So she said, oh, okay. So it's just, there's an education component to my staff, but also it's just because of these like caveats, it just requires, additional, so.
Okay, it sounds like further, people want to discuss this further, and we're not going to hash it out now, so we'll send it over to F&A.
Great.
Like I said, my personal preference would be to keep as much of this possible, much of this free use as possible. I think we want to encourage use of this room, and even if we're subsidizing use of the room, I mean, we want more community groups to meet in Narberth, so I think that's a positive thing, and it is a worthwhile expense. But if members disagree, feel free to bring it up.
I do just also want to acknowledge that some of those events sound like it's a lot more work in terms of cleaning up after and all of that, so I think that has to be taken into consideration.
Whether there's food and drink or not.
The cleanup effort, and again, it all falls to our housemen. And on the weekends, if we have our substitute housemen, our part-time housemen who come in, they're not as familiar with the process. They might not be as thorough with the kind of cleanup operations. So it's kind of we take it for granted. It's like, I forget what mythology that comes from, but the gnomes that do the housework in the middle of the night. That's how it's perceived.
Yeah.
And I work here and I work with the housemen, and I just kind of I'm like, oh yeah, it gets done. Somebody does it and it gets done. But it's done by the housemen. And it's done sometimes in the middle of the night because they are on a call. If they're out on a call, and gosh, if it's an active fire call, they're out there for hours. So they can be getting back at 2 in the morning and they still have to sweep and mop after an event. So it's...
When is New Horizons leaving, right?
No.
Oh, they're not?
No, they decided to stay.
Oh,
They are
okay.
getting a new space, but they've decided to keep both spaces.
Oh, okay.
So they are expanding into
Okay.
Ashbridge, but they are not moving
Okay.
to Ashbridge.
I would selfishly love if F&A could figure out the kitchen dynamic
Yeah.
as part of this.
I don't
Field
think
trip.
I don't think that's F&A. I think that's going to involve discussions with New Horizons offline. and-
Okay, well,
Before
I'm
it
not,
gets to us.
I'll continue having those conversations. So before we meet with F&A to discuss it, I'll get more information so that we can have a fruitful discussion.
Perhaps you want to consider if it's the food and drink that's a problem, if there's a fee for any event
Right.
where food served.
Yeah.
It's like we don't waive our fee for anything where food is served.
Right, and I've been toying around some ideas, and that could be a good distinction, is if food and beverage are being served.
yeah.
Then
I'm less
there's a
worried
fee
about
just
beverage. I mean, if they're serving water or something,
Well, just also figure like, if you
Food or
have food and
alcohol.
beverage, now there's more trash that you have to take out. And there's, again, just,
Gets a little tricky, so I'll give you the counter
well,
example
at
of
least
like,
food.
yeah, so, when we had dance rehearsals in there for the theater, people had their own water bottles. It wasn't like we were
that's not.
serving per se, but
Yeah.
somebody could spill water.
There's
Can happen
always,
there.
Right, so I
There's-
think
I
it's
mean-
like if you're doing a full service of some kind.
you could have 100 people here and not have any problems.
Right.
You could have 5 people here and have
Yep.
a major
A mess.
mess. So it really just depends. And this also is compounded just kind of on the ongoing kind of maintenance and kind of janitorial services that our housemen have to maintain. And again, New Horizons does not provide janitorial services, so it all falls to our housemen for the just routine every day. So this isn't just these like events. A lot of it is just routine stuff day to day. Because New Horizons will have anywhere from 30 to 50 people on a typical day, which is great that they're providing these services. But again, it has real costs in terms of our staff time, our resources, cleaning supplies, water, lights, heating, gas, all of that.
All right. I'll also suggest that I don't think there's a problem with asking recurring users to sign a recurring user agreement.
Yeah.
Especially if we're not also asking them for a fee. If we're just asking them to sign an agreement, I think that makes a lot of sense to me.
I would say
People
as
who are
soon as
there
they
every
show up
month.
for a second time, I'm like, you just became a
Third.
recurring
And
user.
Megan's proposal is the third
Really
time.
easy.
The third time.
That's
Yeah,
it.
so I
That's your
suggested
recurring
if you book more than twice,
Yep.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
then you're a recurring
congratulations,
user.
you're a
So,
recurring user.
Yeah.
I'm
you
very
know, so
comfortable with that.
I said consecutive. Now, if folks do like every other month, is that a recurring user?
Yeah.
I would
Yes.
say
Yes, it
yes.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So-
I would
Have
say
more-
twice within a calendar year
Yeah.
or something.
Well, we can figure out the logistics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
So
don't
we-
think, I think we're comfortable with that idea,
yeah.
moving forward with,
Because,
having them sign an agreement is protects us, protects them.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And like I said, we do have that standard language, so we're not going to Waco every time. We can literally just fill it in, like I can fill it in, they sign it, and then we keep it on file, and then that's how we
Okay.
manage it.
I'm so glad you brought this up, Aggie. This is really important.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you want to make sure that you're not spending huge amounts of time
Yeah.
on this.
I'm sure
Well,
you're.
I'll say that differently. I want to make sure you're spending small amounts.
Yeah, and definitely offload as much of it as possible in the application. I mean,
Yeah, so, you know, for sure, I don't know if I've mentioned this to you, but one of our big pushes this year is actually to do a full sweep of all of our permits, just to update them to make sure that they're consistent in formatting and copy editing, and to make sure that the fees are all correct on them, and to kind of tweak some of these things, like these recurring questions that we have. If it becomes a question that we're constantly going back and asking, it needs to go on the form.
Absolutely.
So again, you guys know me, policy, procedure, I don't wanna have to think about this, I wanna make a form that captures like 95% of every contingency. You can't capture them all, but if I can get a form down that puts the onus on the applicant to provide us with the information that we need to be able to make the correct decision and determination, then it just saves us a lot of time and heartache.
Maggie, I know it's going to F&A. One question while you're here. It's only 2 weeks. The completed application must be submitted at least 2 weeks prior.
Yeah.
Would it be better to make that longer, 4 weeks? Would that be helpful?
Joe, I would love if we could make it longer, but honestly, people, we're free, we're cheap, we're easy. People throw together last minute things.
Yeah.
And usually we're very able to accommodate them. So again, you know, we can talk about it, but that could be, you know, if you're a recurring user, you need more lead time, because putting together the recurring user agreement takes a little bit more time than just
There you
reviewing the
go.
packet. But, you know, we got an application in this week for an event that's happening like next week. So, you know, we're not turning them away, because again, you know, we want to be open, so we kind of bend over backwards and say, sure, we'll take care of it. So even if we have that, I don't know that we necessarily follow it, so I'd be okay with keeping 2 weeks.
Thanks.
Unless it's something that's gonna require, I mean, but again, the caveats, right, like,
Yeah,
we never know the caveats. The other thing too that I wanted to mention is that as we're updating the forms, we currently don't have standards for, like, somebody who came in who wants to do the, like, Wednesday kind of fundraising thing. They said, oh, we want 10 tables of 10. Well, our tables aren't big enough to fit 10 chairs around,
Okay.
and they don't know how many maximum number of tables that we have. So we're gonna also kind of update the form so that people can,
Know what we have.
we'll say specifically, this is what you have, because we just kind of give them like a blank slate and have them draw in the setup that they want. But then we also have some return users, I will not name names in a public meeting, but they do not put anything on their application form and then show up and get mad at us that we didn't set anything up for them. And I'm like, you left it blank. We're not setting up things based on a blank form.
Yeah. I observe that you're looking at me and Michael, so.
Oh, you just happen to be in
yeah.
my line of sight.
No, I'm kidding. We'll do better next time, filling out that application. Yes.
You guys have a party and you didn't invite me?
Fundraiser. It's open to the public.
All right. Okay, so it sounds like we'll follow this up in F&A,
Great.
since there's substantial discussion. Committee reports, F&A.
Has not met since the last, but
Yeah.
it sounds like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure we're gonna be.
All right, infrastructure.
We did meet. I think you're all aware of the Zoom bomb incident. Hopefully that won't recur again. We've taken affirmative steps to try and prevent that from happening again. It's unfortunate, and I want to apologize to our borough staff who had to experience that, because it really was unfair and unpleasant. We voted on some action items for council 2026 paving program. Jeff provided to us his plan for the paving program, which we approved. We talked about the bridge. We had a presentation from Pannoni. Jeff also is moving forward and was requesting that we, per the capital plan, to do the town clock renovations. Personal pet project of Jeff's. And also we discussed also on the capital project is the implementation of the additional security cameras. And that's going to come before us to pay for it. And confirmation that we're not going to need to do a full upgrade, that we can sort of, at least for now, tag onto our existing equipment. We also went over this 2026 stormwater bump out plan. We were advised, this is sort of interesting, is that the state may change their standards. Yeah, so it's not obviously retroactive, which raised the question of, oh, well, should we be doing this if the standards are going to change? And we were basically advised, no, just full steam ahead, act like everything's going to be the same. It's probably not going to be a significant difference.
Well, I think they said, actually, likely, we're still going to be on the hook for the sediment reduction.
Right.
We may just also have to control for volume.
Yeah, so
So
actually.
we're actually.
So we hadn't
Is
needed
it
to do
yes?
volume.
That's
Yes.
my
Yes.
question.
Yes.
Is it getting
Yes.
more?
Yes.
It is getting more
Not less,
difficult.
okay.
But so I was like, well, so then should we put things on
Right.
hold for now? And he was like, no. The answer was pretty clear. The answer is no.
I'm sorry, who's the he on that? Jeff or
was
No.
it Eric
Tony?
or-
Tony,
Tony.
oh, okay. All right.
Tony Pannoni.
It's because, and his explanation made sense.
Okay.
Like, we're not going to be probably held to a retroactive standard. We still have to make that sort of showing of good faith that we are progressing
moving
as we
forward.
are
Yeah.
supposed to.
And since we're still on the hook for the sedimentation standard, whatever we do to
Right.
reduce sedimentation will benefit us.
Right.
Yeah, but if we're being asked to outlay a lot more money, I mean,
Yeah.
potentially we could enter into an agreement with Lower Merion on joint stormwater work, which would allow us to fund ourselves through a stormwater levy. I don't know if we want to go that far, but if they're gonna dump extra requirements on us that are gonna be significant, when is this supposed to happen? When is the state announcement?
That's
Like, what's the?
That's one of the issues
So-
is,
DEP has been sitting on this for about 18 months with no resolution in sight. So some municipalities' permits expired in 2024, some expired in 2025, ours expires in 2026. And those folks who have expired permits, DEP's like, just hang tight and keep on keeping on, and we'll let you know what your requirements are once we figure it out ourselves.
Because the sediment requirements are costing us millions of dollars.
Right.
Like, if they ask for volume reduction as well, I mean, that's,
Well, it sounded like Steph was saying that what we might do is create tanks underneath these to actually capture volume while we're also doing the filtering. And that for the ones that we're doing now, we will just try to add those in the hopes that we will also then get credit for those retroactively, which is not guaranteed.
man, all right. Well,
yeah, unfunded mandate.
yeah, and I was involved in the
Exactly.
PRP stuff earlier on, when I was chair of infrastructure, so I'm well aware of unfunded mandate. All right.
We also
Not good
discussed
news.
capital improvement plan, which also specifically, we had a discussion about the changes to the playing field. And
Like netting?
the netting and that might.
Not the netting, the
The
benches.
stands.
Oh, the
The
benches.
benches,
Okay.
sorry.
The bleachers.
The bleachers,
Yeah.
and that might involve some tree removal,
Yeah.
et cetera, and we're gonna have to make sure the public is aware that we're not just cutting down healthy trees for the, but there are some trees that may have to come down because they're losing limbs as they're aging, there's a safety issue there. And we got a bridge update, so hopefully you've seen, if you've been over there, the utility work is sort of underway. So one thing that we will have to do is relocate a street lamp because it's actually on one of the poles that's coming down. One of those things that you
On
don't
our
even
street
think
lamps
about.
now.
Yep, so we will be down one street lamp on Elmwood. We'll just have to figure out where that's gonna go and how much that's gonna cost us, et cetera, so.
All right.
I think that's it. Well, Maggie gave us the grand updates that I think were repeated here, so.
Okay, thanks. Public health and safety?
Public health and safety meets next week.
Okay, any further announcements?
3
We have the ribbon cutting tomorrow, right?
3 quick ones.
Mm-hmm.
Super important. Ribbon cutting at the Candy Lab
Yeah.
at the train station, 1 p.m. tomorrow. Elise Shapiro has been great, so we should show up and support her.
Will there be candy?
Yeah.
Well, it's a good question because they use the candy to make sculptures. So if you want to eat a sculpture, I guess it's called a sculpture. I'm not sure.
Will there be sculptures?
There will be sculptures.
Are we gonna do a bust of your head or something?
I want to see that. I want to see in gummy worms.
It was one of you. I don't know which one. Don't forget the Narber Civics potluck is February 22nd, 5 to 7. If you're not going to go, you're going to miss an amazing cake that I'm going to bring. Apparently I'm supposed to bring a cake. Okay. And then
Unfunded mandate.
and then
Is it tres leches?
we're still on track. I spent about 30 minutes over at Maluga before I came.
Yeah,
It's beautiful. They're doing a great job. They're doing some last minute construction and then they'll get some permits. And if all that works out, February 23rd from 4 to 7, we'll have
They're on
the
the calendar.
grand opening for them, ribbon cutting. You're all welcome to come.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, make it warm by then, please.
February 23rd.
I didn't know that weather was part of the mayor job, but now I do.
What time did you say?
4 to 7 on that Monday, February 23rd. And it's all pending getting their permits
Yeah.
and those sorts of things. So Mohammed and Omar have been amazing, so let's show up and help them out. But don't forget about the Candy Lab. And Lasan later in the year. Yeah.
All right. Any other announcements? Okay, so I don't believe we're going to have an executive session after this meeting. Okay, there'll be no executive session. So I will take a motion to adjourn.
Did you want to announce the previous executives?
Oh, right, okay, thank you, I completely forgot that. So we did hold an executive session on January 22nd to discuss administrative business and upcoming agendas for council. All right, so now I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second? All right, all those in favor of adjourning? Okay, we are adjourned.